Hello and welcome to K-Pop for Old People. I am your host, Norm, a middle-aged dad.
And I am your other host, Ari, who is the child of the middle-aged dad.
And a big K-Pop fan.
That is true.
That's my understanding, at least. At least that's why we're here, to discuss K-Pop, which I know very little about.
And I know a lot about.
Yeah. So who are we going to be talking about today?
This week we are going to be talking about TxT, aka Tomorrow by Together.
TxT. All right. Before we get into TxT, how's it going?
It's going pretty good.
What's new with you?
Just been listening to other K-pop artists.
Yeah.
Because that's like the only music I listen to.
Fair enough. I've been listening to some K-pop artists as well.
Mm-hmm.
As well as non-K-pop artists, because I listen to all kinds of things. But specifically last week, we talked about Twice.
Yes.
And you made some recommendations about Twice songs that I should listen to. So I have listened to some Twice songs. I listened to a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
The first one that I listened to was The Feels.
Yeah.
Which I've now listened to several times.
Has it grown on you?
I think it has a little bit, for sure. Part of the reason that I listen to it so many times is because it's the English one.
Yeah.
Which I can identify with a little better. The other one I listened to was Hare Hare, which is not all in English, although I was interested to discover that some of it is and some of it isn't, and it seems to just go back and forth, sometimes even within the same sentence.
Yeah.
I watched the video because you recommended that, with all the visual elements, the dancing and the fashion and all that stuff, which I think was a good decision. But I always watch stuff with captions on, as you know.
Yes.
And that was extremely helpful in the case of listening to Hare Hare because it gives you the English translations.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the words that they were singing matched the English captions, and sometimes they didn't, and it seemed to go back and forth. It was a little confusing to me, honestly, but not in a bad way, just like that thing that happens in your mind when you're trying to match someone's lip movements to the sounds that you're hearing. So, but I want to talk a little bit more about The Feels.
Yes.
One of the reasons I listened to that so many times is because as I was getting into it, I was like, this might be an opportunity for you and I to sing a karaoke song together at one of our next karaoke parties. And so I was trying to, get it into my head enough that I could maybe do it for karaoke.
I already know all of the lyrics, so I feel like I could definitely help you with that.
Yeah, and I think you did this one at karaoke already before.
But I'd be happy to do it again.
Sure, we can give it a try. I think I'm at the point now where I can do the chorus, I think. I think I got the chorus down. Actually, the song structure, like when we talked before about, during the Twice episode, you talked specifically about K-pop song structure and how it starts out with a preview of the chorus and then verse, chorus, verse. And then there's a rap and a dance break and all that. Mm-hmm. That matched exactly what I was seeing. You were absolutely right about that when I was watching the video. But the Feels, the song The Feels, seems to have almost two choruses. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the chorus and then the boy I know part.
Right, yeah.
Where they just repeat that.
It's there's a chorus, the verse builds to a chorus and pays off like you want a chorus to do, and then there's another chorus immediately after the first chorus, which is I don't know, I find it really interesting because that's a little unusual from my experience, but it's a pop song, so it's a catchy, it's got multiple hooks. It sounds to me like if you're writing a song for a K-pop artist, like obviously you want to go for the hookiest, like cheeriest, most earworm kind of vibe that you can, and that one certainly qualifies on that.
Yeah. I feel like when I sing K-pop songs, since I know the difference between the people's voices, I like am able to tell that like if I were to sing it with some person, I would be able to either pick like one of the members or like several to sing their parts. And if we were to do that, I definitely would have to teach you whose parts are whose. If we were to do that,
yeah,
or we could just like sing it together, because like there's many options we could do
for sure. Yeah, the whole thing being that they have 9 members, like I've now watched it on YouTube and also listened to it on Spotify where there isn't that visual element. And like when I was watching it on YouTube, they're just switching between people all the time, I suppose, which is necessary when you've got that many people to, get a lead vocal on.
Yeah.
But I can't honestly tell when I'm listening on Spotify who's singing at any given point. And I'm sure you can because you know
Yes.
the band better than I do. But yeah. So we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, I'm definitely coming around to stuff.
Yeah.
But that was last week. That was twice. And this week we're going to be talking about TxT.
Yep.
Tomorrow by Together. So I have some confessions to make to our listeners. So we were gonna record a podcast about TxT last week, and I say we were going to because we sat down, as we do here in your bedroom, and talked about TxT for maybe a good half an hour before I realized that it hadn't actually been recording.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I was pretty embarrassed about. So then what happened was we started over and did another whole half an hour talking about TxT again, only to find that I had screwed up twice and, no pun intended, I had screwed up again, and we hadn't recorded that one either. I don't know how I screwed it up twice in a row, but I made mistakes. And so, full disclosure, we've already talked about TxT for a good long time. I've already learned a lot about TxT.
Yep.
But we're going to talk about them again because I am now 100% sure that we are recording this conversation.
Yes.
So, I will start out by telling you some of the things that I already know about TxT.
Great.
So, they're called TxT for short because the full name is Tomorrow by Together.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we talked about what does that mean, and the conclusion that we came to was we're not sure, but you said it was something about coming together to make a better tomorrow?
Yes, 5 of them, all the 5 members, coming together to make a better tomorrow, which I thought would be a lot better if it was Together by Tomorrow, not Tomorrow by Together.
That's true, and it still works out as TxT.
Yeah.
But that's how it goes. I also remember we talked about how part of it, I think, was just because it makes a nice logo, the TxT logo.
Yeah.
Which it does. Like, when you showed me the logo, it is a really nice logo.
Yeah.
And I have heard stories before of other bands. The example that comes to mind for me is 9 Inch Nails, which was a band that I and your mother were both pretty into in our youth, who that name doesn't make a whole lot of sense either, but it abbreviates nicely into a cool logo. So,
I mean, I would say that TxT and 9 Inch Nails' logos aren't very different.
yeah, that's true.
They're kind of similar.
They are kind of similar. So, anyway, it's not my job to teach you about TxT. It's your job to teach me. So let's hear it. So 5 members.
Yep.
it's a boy group. Is that what they call it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes. I'm pretty sure the reason why they have 5 members is, or like another thing that goes along with the fact that they have 5 members is a traditional star has 5 points, and so they're like the 5 points of a star.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the 5 members from oldest to youngest, because I like it organized like that, are Yeonjun, Subin, Bomgyu, Taehyun, and Hyunin Kai. And the only foreign member, quote unquote, would probably be Kai, because he is Korean American.
Right. Yeah. Born in America. I think you said he was born in Hawaii. Is that right? Yeah.
I believe so.
How did you first find out about them?
I definitely found out about them from their most recent album. I forgot what the album was called, but the title track, Sugar Rush Ride, because I heard it a bit and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I might check this out. And so I looked up the group and I was like, I like these these people because they're funny, they make good music, and they have pretty easy choreography in my opinion, but that's probably just because I'm a more advanced K-pop dancer.
Okay.
Because if I showed their choreography to someone who like doesn't know anything about them, they would definitely be confused.
So does that affect the way that you feel about a group? Is like how easily you can dance to the choreography that they use?
Not really. It's mostly just like the people and the music, but then like I get more into them, and so I start learning the choreography because I like dancing. And I'm the kind of person who doesn't really know how to dance unless it's a K-pop song that I know the choreography to. So if like you put me in a dance circle, I would not be able to do anything that doesn't look awkward and uncoordinated.
Okay, tell me more about TxT.
So they debuted on March 4th, 2019 with their debut song Crown, and their most recent song is Do It Like That with the Jonas Brothers.
Oh, right, the Jonas Brothers.
Yes.
Do you have any connection to the Jonas Brothers yourself?
Not really.
Like, I feel like they were pretty popular when you were still pretty young.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me to see the way, like, obviously they have a pretty big footprint in entertainment in the United States. So, like, getting a K-pop group to work with them benefits both of them because they're not as, big as they used to be. So it exposes the Jonas Brothers to the K-pop audience, and it exposes probably some K-pop to Jonas Brothers fans who might not otherwise have looked to that genre as a thing that they would listen to.
Yeah. More about TxT is they're under the company Big Hit Entertainment under Hybe labels.
Okay.
Yeah. And their fan group is called MOA, stands for Moment of Alwaysness, which makes not a lot of sense.
No, I have trouble parsing that also, but my mind wants to make that into some kind of a reaction to... Nope, I can't. Nothing. I was trying to make a connection between alwaysness and tomorrow, but I really don't understand what it means.
Alwaysness could be like they're always together with TxT?
I guess.
I don't know.
That doesn't refer to a song or a lyric or anything that you're aware of?
Well, they do have a song called Moa's Diary, in parentheses, Duvadu Wari Wari, because that's the Korean version.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's just a song for their fans.
Yeah, that is part of this whole thing that is clearly a part of it that I haven't quite wrapped my head around yet is the fan group part of it. Because, obviously, fan clubs and things like that have been part of music for ages, but it seems like this is a more one-to-one connection between the group and the fandom, which I suppose makes sense in the way that celebrities are more accessible now through the internet than they ever have been, and how like creating connections between fans and, you know, musicians or whoever is more of the music industry than it ever has been too, because it used to be like you would just go to the record store and buy the records or go to the concert. But because people don't buy as many records as they used to, most of music gets consumed online. Like you still have to find a way to engage people that you didn't have to back in the day. Because I remember last week you talked about the fan group for Twice, which was called Once, and I did notice some references to that in some of the videos that I watched as well.
Yeah.
So you talked about the company that TxT is with, and I don't remember if you said that just now or you said it in one of our previous conversations, but I know that they share that company with BTS.
Yes, they do.
Which, of course, BTS being probably one of the biggest K-pop acts in at least the United States.
Definitely.
In terms of popularity and like name recognition.
Everybody knows BTS.
Yeah. And I know that we also talked about how TxT and BTS have sort of a relationship between the two of them.
Yes. Most of the TxT members, if not all of them, are definitely BTS fans. And they've definitely covered BTS songs before. But I've never really heard from BTS much about TxT. Probably because I'm not that into BTS, so I don't really care for their stuff, really.
And we've talked about the different generations of K-pop.
Yes.
And which generation would TxT be?
Definitely fourth generation.
Okay. And would you say that BTS is also fourth generation, or are they an earlier generation?
I'm pretty sure they're like third, fourth.
Okay.
Somewhere in between those.
Another thing that we talked about in past episodes is about how a lot of groups have what I've been calling a theme, and you've been repeatedly correcting me, is called a concept.
Yes.
Does TxT have a concept?
Yes. TxT's concept is sort of growing up, like, because they're growing up and going to adulthood together. And, like, for example, they go through, like, their first crush, which is shown with the song Cat and Dog. Because the whole thing about the song is, I don't want to be just friends, and then more Korean that I wouldn't be able to translate. Can I be your pet and stuff like that? And for example, in the dance break, Yeonjin just straight up screams, let's play forever, I just want to be your dog. And they're like obviously being clingy and stuff like that because it's their first crush and stuff. And, you know, they go through like the challenges of growing up and becoming an adult, like heartbreak, your first crush.
That is always an interesting dynamic to observe in pop groups, especially like boy bands and such, where like part of the allure at their beginning is how young they are, and then watching how they evolve as like being young kids is no longer something that they can rely on for kind of their concept. So it might be interesting to see how these guys evolve over time. Like in my mind, I'm thinking of groups like one of the biggest boy bands of my youth was New Kids on the Block, which I was never really a fan of, but I think every girl that I was in junior high with was like a huge fan of. And so to watch how they transitioned from, you know, at a certain point they tried to change their name to NKOTB because the word kids was in their name and they didn't feel that they were kids anymore and they didn't want to be associated with that. And I'm also thinking of like New Edition, which was a group in the 80s that, you know, continued to evolve into the 90s, and then they kind of went on to like make smaller groups and solo careers. but the themes of their songs changed from like their youth to more adult themes.
Because when TxT debuted, they were definitely like in their teens. I don't know how old exactly, but I know that some of them were born in 2000, so they would have been around 19.
Okay.
Definitely Yeonjun, the oldest, was 18, 19, because he was born in 1999.
Yeah.
A lot of the TxT members usually like tease him for being old and not from their century because he's from the 1900s.
Yeah. As am I, but considerably more of the 1900s than he was. When he was being born, I was getting married, so...
Fun.
What else do I need to know about TxT?
Well, there's TxT lore, which I tried to get into, but there's like a lot, and I don't really have the patience or brain capacity for all of it. So I've written down like a small bit of it.
Okay.
For example, there's a TxT multiverse.
Wow.
Which shocked me.
I don't even know how to process that.
I don't either.
Okay.
Yep.
It's taking me a moment just to wrap my head around how that would even manifest itself.
I know.
Like, I get that multiverses are the thing right now with, all the comic book movies and whatnot. But like
with the K-pop group?
Yeah, like, does that mean that there's different versions of them?
I was just about to get to that, because apparently
okay.
there's, like, other forms of them, which are called Star One, I believe.
Okay.
They're, like, they come from a place where, like, magic exists and stuff.
All right.
That's, like, the surface level. I didn't get too deep into the lore, because there was so much. Because there's, like, different analysis on, like, their songs and, like, other things about them, but I didn't really care much.
So is this created by the company and the group itself, or is this like a fan thing?
I'm pretty sure it's like set up by the company and the group.
Sure.
And like the fans like dig deep into it.
Right.
Just like how any fandom would with like anything, really.
I think it's a pretty smart move, honestly, because it is a popular thing, and fandom can take that stuff and run with it. Fan fiction and all that going on.
Yes.
I can see how that would really work for connecting to fans. But of course, I'm a comic book nerd too, so like the idea of I'm using the same characters in different contexts like that to and it's weird to talk about them as characters because, as we've said, like,
they're real people.
They're human people who...
But they also have fake thems that are from a different universe,
Sure.
mark?
Like, but to a certain extent, I think, at least from my limited perspective on K-pop so far, it is a little bit of creating a fictionalized world around these people, like how you're telling me that they get picked by these companies and trained and whatever. It is almost like they're playing a role, like in a movie or something, except instead of a movie, it's
music.
It's music, but it's also like the lifestyle of a pop star,
Yeah.
So, like, I agree that sounds a little overwhelming, the whole idea of having a multiversal lore, but also I can see why someone would get into that.
I bet there's some fan out there that's like, I bet the reason why Yeonjun dyed his hair red in the music video for Magic is because this and this and this and whatever. But I would never be able to get that far into it. I'd just be like, oh, cool hairstyle. I like it.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a lot of fun, honestly. It does sound like a lot of fun to me. I'm not going to explore it any further than that.
Yeah, me neither. Because, like, I'm more of a chill fan compared to those kinds of people. Because, like, I'm like, oh, yeah, there's lore, cool. I'll look a bit into that, but not a lot at all, really.
And I gather that TxT is one of your favorite groups.
Yes, definitely.
What is it about them that you like?
Well, I definitely like, the people themselves, the music. That's kind of mostly what I look for in a group, but then I also like doing the choreography and stuff like that, even though I've never learned a choreography to a full song, just like mostly the chorus and then like a bit on the side that I can remember from a dance practice video.
Sure. Are there particular songs of theirs that are your favorites?
Well, that's kind of hard because like they have a lot of good songs that I like, and so it's whenever somebody asks me to pick a favorite song, I'm like, so that's kind of a hard question because like I like so many different groups.
Sure.
And they have good songs that I like, and I might like multiple ones. And I'm like, if somebody asked me what my favorite K-pop song was, I would be like, boy group or girl group?
Yeah.
Because like there are so many songs that I like. But from TxT, I definitely like their song "No Rules." Probably "Magic," which is another one of their English songs.
Okay.
And also probably "Sugar Rush Ride."
The first one that you listened to?
Yes.
Okay. Is that one English as well?
No.
Okay.
Just Magic.
Magic.
They do have another song in that album that is English. But it doesn't have a music video. It does have a performance video, though.
Okay. So which songs would you recommend that I check out?
Probably "No Rules" and "Magic."
All right.
Because I feel like 2 songs is enough.
Yeah, that's probably a good bar for me to be able to reach a couple of songs.
Because it's like an English song and a Korean song.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll have to check those out.
Mm-hmm. But a bit more on the TxT lore is either the people themselves or the Star One versions of them or whatever have like grown weird appendages and stuff. For example, Yeonjun had horns that he ended up snapping off because he thought they looked ugly, I believe. Subin grew long ears.
Okay.
Taehyun had a star eye. Don't know what that means.
All right.
Beomgyu had thorns coming out of his shoulders.
Wow, there's a lot going on here.
And Kai had wings.
I think that's probably the best one.
Yeah.
If I had to choose.
I mean, they probably didn't get to choose.
All right. So, yeah, there's a whole situation going on there.
Yeah, definitely.
Does any of that come through in the music? Because it sounds like the music is mostly based in like real world relationship type stuff.
The only thing that I can think of is when I learned that Yeonjun had horns, it made me think of the song Crown, because in the chorus and stuff, they talk about there's horns growing out of my head and stuff like that.
Okay, so it does actually show up in the music.
But that's the only one that I've seen.
Okay. Is there more stuff that I need to know about TxT?
I mean, probably. I don't know.
Is there more stuff that you want me to know about TxT?
Well, not specifically about TxT, but just a thing that I was thinking about is Hybe Labels has like different companies under them. And so there's this thing called like the Hybe family, which includes groups like TxT, BTS, and Hypen, LE SSERAFIM, New Jeans, 17, and more that I can't think of right now. They're all under Hybe labels, but they're under like different companies. For example, BTS and TxT are under Big Hit Entertainment. New Jeans is under Adore Entertainment, and so on. But yeah, they're like often TxT and Hypen are paired together, probably because they're both 4th generation boy groups from Hybe labels. And so I think it's funny the relationship that they have with each other, because and Hypen came after TxT, so they would seem to be like younger than them, and of course they are, because I'm pretty sure they're all still in their teens / early 20s, like fairly early 20s. So yeah, I feel like they have a nice relationship with each other where like Hypen tries to be formal and stuff to them because they're like their elders and whatever.
Okay.
But TxT is just like, chill out, bro. And I think that's fun.
Cool.
That's probably all I can think of so far. Might do a little bit of a checkup in the next episodes or something like that.
Sounds good. I'm definitely going to check out some TxT songs and see what I think, and we'll probably talk about that in a future episode.
Yeah.
Cool. So, thank you for teaching me about TxT.
Thank you for listening.
Sure. I feel like I learned a lot because even as much as we talked about here, we talked about even more before.
Yep.
That because of my mistake didn't get recorded. But
yeah, next week we will be talking about BTS.
oh, okay.
Yes.
So, all right. I will look forward to learning about BTS, which, although they are, as we said, probably the most well-known K-pop group in the United States, I know essentially nothing about. So there will be plenty for me to learn.
I also know very little about BTS, so it might be also be a learning experience for me too.
Sounds good. All right. Well, tune in next week to learn about BTS. And until then, this has been K-pop for old people. I'm Norm.
I'm Ari.
And talk to you next week.
Annyeong.
Okay. So five guys.
Five guys.
Five guys. I'm tired.